Well, good morning, everyone. Just checking to make sure my mic levels are on and um, coffee is full. My name is Frank Lavinia. Catch me on the socials at Frank Digs Data, franksworld.com, datadriven.tv, and of course, impactquantum.com. I had a chance to do some experimentation this weekend with, my dog wants to chime in. Yes, that's my dingo. He is camera shy, but he is not shy to take my hand away from the mouse. So let me give a little bit of prep for this. So this weekend, I finally had a chance to um, do some AI experimentation. I was really inspired with some of the work I'd been doing for my day job on running Mistral locally in a OpenShift cluster in the cloud. Theoretically, that OpenShift cluster could live on one of those machines over there, on any cloud, anywhere, really. So, or even at the edge. So, what really triggered this was a video by a gentleman named Network Chuck. Network Chuck is an awesome YouTuber. His general type of space is IT infrastructure and networking and things like that, which is something I want to learn anyway, right? But obviously, the AI world kind of keeps me busy. So, I want to share with you some of my results from running his video tutorial. And he had this video, great video. I love his thumbnails, by the way. um, in case you're wondering why all the YouTubers have these crazy, the top YouTubers anyway, have these crazy facial expressions or whatnot, it's because you're more likely to click on that. Statistically, people are more likely to click on that. Anyway, he has this great post where he goes through how to build out an AI server. And he has a really good use case with his daughter. That's my dog. Um, he has two daughters, and he basically built out a server. He called it Terry. And he does a much better job of explaining it. But when I went to price that machine, um, it was about well over $6,000. And it turns out the 4090 cards were a bit more expensive than I thought. I thought they came in at around $800. When I looked, they're closer to $1,800 if you get them on sale, but their list price is about $2,000. So while I felt sorry for myself for not making the same life choices as Mr. Chuck here, where I couldn't just go to, just justify dropping 6 grand on a computer without a blink, without arguments from the spouse, I realized that I have existing metal that can run this. So the first experiment was my old P51 Lenovo laptop, personal laptop. It's pushing about 6, 7 years old. I figured I'd give it a try. It installed wonderfully. It installed fine. However, when I ran it, it basically completely took over the CPU for the duration of the run. We'll get to that in a minute. So even though it had a GPU, it didn't really seem to activate it, which made me wonder what's going on. The install script made it look like I was able to do that. But so then I tried another newer laptop, same deal. Then I tried my Mac M2. It worked, but it really also clogged up the machine. I noticed when a Mac CPU is at 100% capacity, the OS does not handle it as gracefully as Windows. I know I said that out loud. Certainly not as graceful as Linux. But anyway, so then I thought, hey, I've got a machine that I bought last fall, and it's a refurbed Dell PowerEdge system information. It's basically a PowerEdge R630. It's got a Xeon with 32 cores, I believe. And if we go to Task Manager, we can see that it does indeed have 32 cores. And I generally haven't had a chance really to use it to the degree that I originally intended. I wanted to set up OpenShift and clusters and things like that in Kubernetes, but I'm still going to do that. But for now, it's largely sitting running just a couple of VMs using Hyper-V. Now, those among you who are like, Windows, really? I'm more familiar with Windows. I have a lot more experience with Windows Server Administration than I do Linux. So I figured I was eager to get this thing working. Now, here's the beautiful thing. This machine last fall was about $250 refurbed, right? I had to drop an additional $50-ish to get a hard drive and those little hard drive caddy things to put through and install it, right? So for around $300, keep in mind that's the performance we're getting. $300 versus $6,600. I think you'll see that what we're gonna do. So I'm not going to walk you through all of the install script that we have here, but ultimately I installed Windows Subsystem for Linux, right? And this is legit Linux, and so if I go here, there's a whole bunch of things you could do, but basically I'm installing a product called Olama, right? You go there, it's open source, it's free, and you can install it. Come on, so you can download it, and they have instructions for Mac OS, Linux, and Windows. I did not do this just because that was Network Chuck's thing here. Recommendation was to just do it on Linux, but do it through WSL. This is the command. It does have to download. First, you install the system, and then you pull down a model. So in this case, I pulled down Llama 3, and Llama 3 is what we're going to run. And just for fun, we're going to see if we can get Mixtral down here too. Mistral, not Mixtral. So, because this is the model I played with the other day on the other live stream. Now, there's a whole bunch of other things that you can do, and he does highlight this in the video, where he basically makes a private ChatGPT. And what's really cool about it is he was able to give restricted access to an LLM for his daughters to help them with their homework. He was also able to set up custom prompts and basically what you would call in the online world a custom GPT, but he built it locally. Running it locally has a number of advantages, not the least of which is privacy, but he also has the ability to monitor what his kids are looking at and what they're asking for. He can also set up a tutor for their daughters so he would, they would not write the papers. It's like if you put in the types of guardrails such that if the kids ask to, hey, could you write this paper for me? It'll say, no, but I can help you write this paper. And it would set up these guardrails and stuff like that. Very cool stuff. And when I get to that part done, I will do a video on that. But for now, I just want to focus on the base infrastructure. All right, so with that out of the way, let me go back to this being the main screen, pet the dog, and let's see. So what I did here was, this is my system here. And once everything's installed, you can type in Olama, run Llama 3. If I had a different model, I would choose a different model. But for now, I'm going to use Llama 3, and I'm going to run it. And after a minute or two, and this is why I want to show you Task Manager. I know, I'm petting my dog. My dog is excited about having his own AI. Are you excited about having your own AI? He's camera shy, but he's not shy about whining or doing this. All right, so now you can see it's up and running. Let's lay this over here. All right, so I can say, hello, can you please tell me about Windows Subsystem for Linux? Why not? All right, so two things here. I'm running this locally. Obviously, I could do this air gapped. I could pull the plug on the internet, but then I'd lose the stream. But the idea is that this is running entirely locally. Two, I always like to be polite to the AI because when they take over, they'll remember me as the polite one. All right, so I'm going to run this. Now, I want you to keep an eye on the response, but also the CPU use. So you'll see, while it's not the fastest response in the world, it is acceptable. And I'd also take a look at the CPU usage. It's about at 49%, which again, this machine has 0 GPUs. It's entirely CPU. So it proves that it's possible, not necessarily recommended. But again, this machine was only $250. Right? So keep that in mind. Clearly, if you drop $6,000, you are going to expect a better experience, right? But ultimately, it's going to go through, and you'll see that the response is comparable to what you would see on another LLM like ChatGPT or even Claude, right? Where you get a fully well thought out answer. And I'm going to cough. All right, is my audio back? It is. Um, you get a well thought out answer, and I'm only using half the CPU use. Now, what's interesting and was very delightful for me was I had actually done this remote desktop upstairs over the weekend from my Mac, which is nerdy in and of itself. But hold that thought. I didn't know if once the CPU hits a certain threshold, the fans get loud. I mean, really loud. So I'm actually running this now, and I can't hear it. The fans didn't activate it. That's why I moved it all the way on the other side of the room. Um, but you will see that it is producing a result. Now, is it as fast as I would like? No. However, there is another alternative server that I've got my eye on, and Father's Day is coming up, that did have a GPU, and it was about $800. So I'd be curious to see if that was be any faster. But again, how many users am I really going to have on this, right? Um, there's only 5 of us in the family. The little guy is not on the computer yet. I'd realistically only be dealing with 4 users and probably 1 to 2 concurrently. Given I'm at 49%, I probably could deal with having 2 concurrent users. All right. So what this has an advantage is that I don't have to pay for ChatGPT Pro or ChatGPT Teams or Anthropic for Teams, and I can get my kids access to an AI, but also be able to monitor that. So the next step in the process, and he goes through this in the video, is that he sets up basically a web UI for the process and how to consume it. But I wanted folks to feel confident that they can run this locally, even on Windows, perhaps using WSL. I'm going to try something here that is not on script because I'm brave and I'm crazy like that. So I'm going to try Olama run llama 3. I'm going to see if I can run 2 concurrences, and let's see what that does to the CPU. Okay, now I hear the fan going. Yep, the fans are on. All right, so maybe 2 concurrent users is a bit much. It is interesting that the process is only maxed out at 49%. Something tells me that there's some kind of configuration file in WSL that is throttling it to half the use. So my next step will probably be, so there's a couple ways I can go forward here. One, I can completely reimage the server so it's based on some kind of Linux, right? So removing Windows from the equation entirely. Or I can run a VM inside of this on Hyper-V that I can basically scale up, and I can probably throttle, to use maybe up to 80% of the resources, right? Because I do have other workloads on this machine, most notably my TwinGate server, so I can get remote access to some of my resources. Again, that was actually a video I learned from a video tutorial watching from Network Chuck. All right, so let's see. Let's go back to the main screen here. And never broke 50%. So that tells me that something's going on. But you'll see, there you go, right here. I didn't time it, but they both ended around the same time. So I'm going to say /by, and if you type in, there's a whole list of commands you could do. And let's see. So I want to pull down, one of the interesting things about this is you can pull down other models. So I'm curious about phi, right? So I want to pull down phi. It's only 3.8 billion parameters, which just says a lot about the state of the world when I say it's only. So I want to say O llama pull phi 3, and you'll see it's going to pull down this file. And we're doing this in real time. So you'll notice last time I said O llama run llama 3. Now I'm going to say O llama run phi 3. And we'll see if this has a better result or a lighter load on my CPU here. See, check the chat, see if I have any messages. No chat messages. I figured I'd start the week with a good live stream on this because this was my weekend obsession. This and helping my my 9-year-old win some kind of thing in slap battles by using automation. Maybe I'll do a video on that. I don't know. All the fun stuff with being a geek dad. All right, so it's downloaded, and it's definitely faster on hardwire than it is on on Wi-Fi. All right, so let's give this a try. O llama run phi 3. And I'm excited when I get the web UI running. I'll be very interested in that. So send a message. So hello, what is phi 3? Let's see if it has a little bit of self-awareness. All right, there goes the. No, that's interesting. No, we're back to 49%. Okay. That's hilarious. So it's not totally, it thinks that this is a mathematical reference. But you'll see it is slightly faster. And that is what it said. It's meant to be optimized. All right, so let's Control C ought to cancel that. What is let's see, when is the summer solstice? I don't know. So it's actually pretty quick. So let's do something crazy. How am I on time? I'm good on time. Control C. Control C. All right, it's not capturing the cancel command. All right, so we saw roughly how that was. Let's try, what is the summer solstice? So let's keep an eye on this. There you go. Boom. The way this scrolls past reminds me of an old video game called Defender. So you'll see it's considerably slower llama on this, which does drive into the lightweight state-of-the-art open model, Mistral. So let's try O llama pull Mistral. Let's see, there we go. Ooh, Okay, so now it's going to 51%, 64%. So you see, okay. And I do hear the fan going. So it seems like the fan triggers. And I remember there's all sorts of BIOS configurations, things like that. But it is interesting to note that the fans don't go on until it hits above 50%. So I may have to move the server to another room because it does get loud. But it is cool that I can run these models entirely local. I can pull down different versions. And I could do that. So I highly encourage you to give this a shot. I highly encourage you to play around with this. I think that open source models are the future, but also they provide unrivaled flexibility, right? So if I, like Network Chuck, wanted to do, I could have my own gated system where I can have my own kind of home AI running completely independent from the cloud. I could do that. Now, the other thing I didn't show is I could spin up a VM somewhere for a little bit that could run this kind of on demand in the cloud using a 490. There are actually pretty reasonable services out there for GPU rental, if you will. But again, only at most two concurrent users. I don't think it's really necessary. I think what is necessary is moving the machine out of the room because it could get loud. So with that in mind, let's let's just give Mistral a try, just for fun. So I want to say Llama run Mistral, and let's keep an eye. I'm pointing at the screen like you can see that, but let's keep an eye on this right here. All right, so it's already running. That was fast. Hello. Hello, what is an LLM? Okay, so we went straight away to 50%, but it is slightly faster. So it looks like Llama 3 is the most compute intensive. This is slightly less compute intensive, and then Phi seemed to be a little faster too. But in terms of CPU consumption, it's about the same. So that wouldn't help my multi-user problem. But again, I only spent $250 on this. Maybe I'll upgrade to a better system, but I just thought it's cool that like anyone can run this, right? Cost is not really a barrier. You do have to have a fairly recent machine, maybe the last. He said that he had a 10-year-old machine he was able to make this work on, and I would concur. I had like an 8 or 9-year-old machine that this work on. Didn't work on really well. Well, okay, this is really weird. Check this out. Oh, okay. So we'll see that it did a pretty decent job in terms of response. Mistral, there were a whole bunch of other knobs and dials I could set to. But for now, this was just me experimenting, really inspired by some of the stuff I'd done last week, demoed last week, as well as the YouTube video from Network Chuck. So with that in mind, have a good one, and I will see you. Do I have any QR codes I want to share? I do not. So with that in mind, my name's Frank Lavinia. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments. And yes, I still have allergies. And yes, my voice is still recovering. But I thought it would be cool to share kind of a little bit about my experiments here, because when I did post it on LinkedIn, a screenshot of the CPU usage, there was definitely a lot of interest. So go out there, experiment. The world is your oyster. All right. With that in mind, have a great day, and I will play the outro graphic.